My name is Alejandro Vasquez. I am 48 years old, and I am a quantum physicist at the Center for Research and Advanced Studies, located in Mexico City. That was my life, my routine, until 3 months ago, when everything I believed about reality was completely transformed. Throughout my academic journey, I have grounded my convictions in the scientific method, in empirical evidence, and in philosophical materialism. For me, concepts such as God, the soul, and life after death were mere psychological constructs of humanity, designed to confront the fear of the unknown and the inevitability of finitude. It was not only Teo, but he stood as a fervent defender of atheism. He had published articles and given lectures in which he passionately argued that modern science had rendered any idea of spiritual transcendence obsolete. It was a Tuesday in March, and I was in the laboratory, immersed in a computer simulation exploring the mysteries of string theory. Night had fallen, and the clock was already past 10. As it used to happen, I was alone in the building, surrounded by the silence that was only interrupted by the soft humming of the computers. I clearly remember the moment when a sharp pain seized my chest, an unfamiliar sensation that I had never experienced before. At first, I tried to ignore it. After all, scientists are often stubborn, especially when we are immersed in our research. The pain quickly intensified, radiating to my left arm and my jaw. A cold sensation took over my forehead as I struggled to reach my phone, but I couldn't. I fell to the floor of the laboratory, only aware of the distant sound of the alarms from the equipment I had knocked over in my fall. What happened next challenges everything I ever considered possible. Suddenly, I was no longer in the laboratory. It was as if my consciousness had detached from my body. I floated above the scene, watching myself lying on the ground. I saw how the security guard, while doing his usual rounds, discovered me and, in a state of panic, called an ambulance. I tried to make myself understood. I wanted to tell him that in some way I was okay, but it was as if my voice no longer existed in the physical world. I was completely disconnected from my body, but at the same time fully aware. This experience challenged everything I had learned about consciousness, regarded as a mere product of the physical brain. As the medical team arrived and began performing resuscitation maneuvers, I realized that I was distancing myself from that scene. It was not a physical force, but a kind of indescribable current that defied the laws of physics that I knew. It was as if the very fabric of space-time was curving around me, enveloping me in an experience that transcended understanding. I felt irresistibly drawn towards what I can only describe as a tunnel of pure light. It was not light in the electromagnetic sense that we study in physics, but something much deeper and more essential. It was as if this light represented the very essence of reality, more authentic and vivid than any experience I had ever had through my physical senses. As I ventured into the tunnel, an extraordinary sensation began to engulf me, what I can only describe as an expansion of consciousness. Information and understandings that transcended the limits of usual human perception started to flow into my mind, like a torrent of revelations. I could visualize the fundamental equations of reality as living entities, vibrating with a transcendental logic that made our most advanced physical theories seem childish in comparison. It was as if all the mathematics of the universe was simply the shadow of something much deeper and interconnected. At the end of that illuminated tunnel, I felt the arrival of a presence. There was no way to ignore that it was a conscious entity, something more than mere energy or a natural phenomenon. Despite my years of skepticism, something deep within my being immediately recognized who that presence was. It was Jesus Christ, not the Jesus of stained glass or the one in religious paintings, but a being of light and pure consciousness. Her presence radiated such an intense love that I felt completely exposed and deeply known. As a rationalist scientist, my mind rushed to find a logical explanation for what I was experiencing, considering the possibility that it was an hallucination caused by a lack of oxygen in the brain. However, there was something about this experience that was profoundly different. Its coherence, clarity, and impact surpassed any altered state of consciousness that could be explained from a neurological perspective. It was more authentic than the very reality I had experienced. When it approached me, It did not do so with resonant words, but through a form of communication that penetrated directly into my mind, more precise than any language. "Alejandro," he asked, "who is it that recognizes my name?" I felt that he knew every atom of my being, every thought that had crossed my mind, every doubt and every search for the truth. "You sought me through matter even when I was beyond it." I tried to articulate a response, but before I could do so, he continued, "Your longing to discover the truth through science is not misguided, Alejandro. The mind that strives to understand the laws of the universe is walking a sacred path. The true mistake was thinking that reality stops where our instruments cease to measure." As I spoke, I glimpsed before me the images of the history of the universe unfolding in a vast panorama. It was not like watching a movie. It was a direct, palpable, and immersive experience. I observed the uniqueness of the Big Bang, not as a mere random event, but as an intentional manifestation of divine creativity. The laws of physics, which I had studied throughout my entire career, revealed themselves to me as the expression of an intelligence that went beyond the universe itself. Mexico is in an era marked by deception, and around us the landscape has changed drastically. I observed how Mexico City, Monterrey, Guadalajara, and other cities have transformed. People are interconnected thanks to advanced technologies, creating an illusion of progress and unity that, at first glance, seems almost utopian. Deception will not manifest itself through fear, Alejandro, but will disguise itself as comfort. It will not present itself as a tyrant, but will appear as a savior. You will see how webs of information are woven that envelop Mexico, with technologies that seem to offer solutions to all the problems that have tormented our country for decades. Violence, corruption, and inequality were palpable realities. Despite people being constantly connected, they felt more isolated than ever. Their minds, instead of being threatened, were programmed with desires and distractions that kept them trapped in an endless cycle. They will call it peace, Jesus explains, but in reality, it will be control. They will say it is love, but in essence, it will become a prison. The mark of the system will not first manifest on the skin, but in the heart, through the gradual acceptance of values that distance people from the truth and from authentic freedom. Google presents itself as a global system that employs concepts which, at first glance, seem positive: unity, tolerance, prosperity. However, these terms are stripped of their profound spiritual meaning. It is like a gospel without a cross, a spirituality that lacks repentance and a transformation that is not grounded in truth. The spirit of the age envelops hearts in a whirlwind of distraction, pride, and haste, he stated. People never stop to listen. They are always running, but they ignore where they are headed. As I contemplated this scene, a deep compassion welled up within me, completely flooding me. It was not about condemnation, but a profound pain in observing the suffering that loomed ahead for humanity, and in particular, for Mexico. True love, Alejandro, is not simply giving approval. Authentic love cares for the well-being of the other above all, even in the most difficult moments. Many have confused love with complicity and faith with convenience. Then, the scene transformed once again, and before my eyes appeared something unexpected. Small flashes of light sparkled all over Mexico, from the popular neighborhoods of Mexico City to the rural towns of Chiapas, Oaxaca, and the Yucatan Peninsula. Humble people gathered in their homes and in small communities, praying fervently and studying ancient scriptures with a renewed understanding. These people were not dazzled by the glow of the global system. They had not fallen into the trap of its deceptive light. "These are my remnants in Mexico," Jesus explained firmly. "They will not submit to the system, and, for that reason, they will face persecution. However, I will be by your side until the end. They will not be recognized for their power or fame, but for the genuine love they profess for one another." I have witnessed how these communities of faith have persevered, even in the face of mockery, marginalization, and ultimately, active persecution. They did not respond with violence or fear, but with a serene courage that emanated from a source deeper than themselves. "Mexico is undergoing a profound spiritual sifting," he continued. Each individual must make a crucial decision. To whom do they truly belong? To the truth or to convenience? To faith or to the system? It's not just about intellectual beliefs for Alejandro, but about where he truly places his heart and what he puts his trust in. He felt overwhelmed by these revelations. As a scientist, he had always sought objective truth, but now he realized that he had overlooked entire dimensions of reality due to his materialistic approach. Why are you showing me this? Finally, he dared to ask, why me? I have spent my whole life denying your existence. He smiled. In that smile, there was not only forgiveness but also a glimmer of admiration. Why do you prefer the truth to comfort, Alejandro? You were wrong in your conclusions, but you were right in your search. And why will the voice of a Mexican scientist who has discovered something that transcends science resonate? Will it be heard by those who would otherwise remain silent? I have revealed how science was being misused in Mexico and in the world that was approaching. It was not only being employed for surveillance and control, but there was also an effort to create a new form of synthetic spirituality. In this context, transcendent experiences could be induced, measured, and ultimately manipulated. Humanity finds itself playing with forces it does not fully understand. Thus, it was expressed. Not because technology is inherently evil, but because if our moral compass anchored in truth is transcendent, power tends to corrupt. It revealed to me how even organized religions in Mexico were being infiltrated by this system, becoming entities more concerned with their cultural relevance and numbers than with spiritual truth. Before proceeding, just one request. Subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot to continue. I observed how the rich Mexican Catholic tradition, along with the rise of evangelical churches and indigenous spirituality, was being diluted and commercialized, thus losing its essence along the way. Before we continue, just one request. Please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep going. Many talk about what is pleasant instead of what truly transforms. The gospel, which should be a message of deep change, has become a mere product. The cross, which symbolizes sacrifice out of love, has been replaced by promises of comfort and prosperity. The vision continued to evolve before my eyes, and I could see how this global system would begin to crumble in Mexico. The promises of peace and prosperity could not be sustained forever. Environmental, economic, and social crises would intensify, and control would become increasingly evident and oppressive. I observed how social tensions in Mexico intensified, how polarization deepened, and how the technological and political solutions that promised to solve everything proved insufficient to confront the deeper spiritual problems. The time for choice has come, proclaimed Jesus. Every Mexican must decide where to place their faith and hope. Human institutions, no matter how solid they may seem, will fail. Systems, no matter how well designed they are, will also fail. Even the most advanced science will not be able to solve the deepest problems of the human heart. Then it showed me something I will never forget. An image of Mexico transformed, not through policies or technologies, but by a genuine spiritual awakening. I observed communities in Mexico City, Monterrey, Guadalajara, Puebla, Mérida, and in small towns throughout the country where ordinary people came together in prayer. There, genuine love transcended social and economic divisions, and faith manifested not as an empty tradition, but as a vibrant and life-filled relationship. Mexico has received a special calling in these recent times. Jesus commented, "It is a call to become a light for the nations. It is not about political or economic power, but about the authenticity of its faith and the depth of its heart." I observed how, despite the challenges and persecution, these communities of authentic faith flourished throughout the nation. They were not large megachurches or media movements, but small groups of sincere believers whose lives radiated a transforming love. This movement spread from Mexico to the north and south, leaving its mark throughout America. It will not be through the powerful like Alexander, Jesus explained, but through the humble. It will not be by those who seek influence, but by those who long to serve. The intensity of that vision was almost overwhelming. I tried to absorb everything that was being revealed to me, but it was like trying to catch the ocean in a simple cup. "You are going to return now," he said, and at that moment I understood that our conversation was coming to an end. "Your time has not yet come to an end. You have a purpose to fulfill in Mexico." "What should I do?" I asked, feeling completely transformed by everything I had experienced. How can I convey this experience to my fellow scientists? They will think about what has been. Tell me the truth, Alejandro. Do not fear ridicule. Those who truly seek the truth will recognize the authenticity of your testimony. It is not about converting everyone, but about offering a glimpse of light to those whose hearts are ready to receive it. And what about science? Should I abandon my work? The answer was clear. No way. True science does not oppose faith. Rather, it is a manifestation of it. So go ahead with your work, but with a new perspective. There are dimensions of reality that your tools cannot quantify, but your renewed mind now has the capacity to begin to understand. I felt a powerful attraction calling me back, as if an invisible cord was guiding me back to my body. As the presence of Jesus began to fade, his last words resonated strongly in the air. "Tell Mexico that there is still time." The deception had already taken root, but the truth could still be found by those who seek it with a sincere heart. As for what is to come, for I have already overcome the world. The next thing I remember is opening my eyes in the intensive care unit of the Hospital Angeles, in the vibrant city of Mexico. Around me, doctors and nurses moved with a mix of surprise and amazement at my unexpected recovery. Later, I learned that I had experienced a massive heart attack and that my heart had stopped beating for almost 18 minutes. From a medical perspective, I should be dead or at best have suffered irreversible brain damage. When I finally managed to recover enough to speak, I tried to share with my neurologist what I had experienced. He looked at me with an understanding smile and began to explain the effects of cerebral anoxia. He talked to me about how a brain in its final moments can generate experiences to cope with the trauma of death. It was precisely what I would have claimed just a few days ago. However, I was aware that what I had experienced was authentic, more tangible than the hospital itself, more vivid than any physical experience I had had in my entire life. It was not a product of a dysfunctional brain, but a glimpse of a broader reality that our scientific instruments have yet to capture. In the weeks that followed, I began to review my notes and my scientific work, observing them now through a completely renewed perspective. I did not abandon science. On the contrary, I discovered a new dimension within it. I observed how the elegant equations that describe our universe are, in fact, the expression of a creator's thought, manifesting through the language of mathematics. I began to capture my experience in a personal diary, a refuge where my thoughts and emotions could flow freely. Over time, that diary transformed into a manuscript that gradually took the shape of a book. However, not everything was easy. Many of my colleagues at Simve staff reacted with skepticism to my project. Some even expressed concern for my mental health, questioning whether this introspective journey was really what I needed. However, surprisingly, other scientists approached me privately. They shared their own concerns about a strictly materialistic paradigm and revealed their personal searches for a deeper meaning in life. I began to perceive the signs of deception that Jesus had revealed to me. It was not about sensationalist conspiracies, but rather the subtle trends that manifest in Mexican society. I observed how the growing dependence on technologies, which promise connectivity, often leads to isolation. Likewise, economic and political systems proclaim freedom, while in reality, they increase control over our lives. A synthetic spirituality that promises transcendence without the necessary moral transformation. It is fascinating to observe how the rich spiritual tradition of Mexico, which encompasses everything from Catholic devotion to indigenous spirituality, as well as the rise of evangelical communities, is subtly transforming into something more superficial. This change manifests itself in a more consumerist approach and less focused on the deep spiritual truths that have characterized these traditions over time. Today, 3 months after that transformative experience, I realize that I am no longer the same man. Although I continue to be a scientist and work at the Institute, and I keep publishing articles in peer-reviewed journals, I have gained a new perspective. I now understand that science, as amazing as it is just a window to reality. It is not about reality in its entirety. I understood that Jesus did not oppose reason or scientific inquiry. In fact, he himself had revealed to me the astonishing mathematical beauty of the universe he created. What I was really warning about was the danger of intellectual pride that led me to think that nothing could exist beyond what I could measure or understand. This has been a complicated journey full of discoveries and deep reflections. I have lost friends. I have been the subject of mockery in academic circles, and at times I still face doubts. However, in those moments of uncertainty, I evoke the reality of what I lived, the intensity of that light, the depth of that love, the clarity of that truth. I know I cannot deny what I witnessed just to cling to the comfort of my old beliefs. To all Mexicans who are reading or listening to my testimony, I do not ask you to accept my experience without questioning. As a scientist, I deeply appreciate critical thinking and the pursuit of sincere answers. However, I invite you to reflect on the possibility that our current understanding of reality may be far from complete. The boundaries between science and spirituality may not be as clear as we often believe. Jesus revealed to me that the deception of the last times in Mexico will not manifest primarily through fear, but will subtly infiltrate through comfort and distraction. Many will be so absorbed in their occupations, so entertained and so confident in their own abilities, that they will not notice the profound spiritual transformations that are occurring around them. However, he revealed to me that no matter what happens in Mexico, there is always a ray of hope. It is not a hope based on technological advancements or human solutions, but rather a hope rooted in something, in someone, that transcends this physical world I have studied for so long. Tell them there is still time. Those were his words directed to Mexico, that they should seek me while they can still find me, because true revival will not arise from great events but from broken and sincere hearts. The Mexico I glimpsed in my vision is a country where small communities of authentic faith shine in the midst of darkness, where genuine love transcends divisions and humility triumphs over pride. This is not just a dream, but a tangible possibility for those who choose the true path in this time of decisions. And so I conclude my testimony with these words. As a Mexican scientist who has dedicated his life to the pursuit of objective truth, I can clearly affirm that I have discovered a truth much deeper than I ever imagined possible. And that truth has a name: Jesus Christ. I am not referring to the Jesus of religious institutions or the one from cultural cliches, but to the living Jesus I discovered beyond the threshold of death. This is the Jesus who revealed to me that Mexico has a special purpose in these times. He taught me that reality is infinitely more wonderful, more complex and more loving than our science could ever grasp on its own. Mexico is undergoing an accelerated transformation. Confusion and deception seem to multiply, but for those who seek the truth with a sincere heart, there is a way. This way is not limited to a set of beliefs or a specific religion. It leads to a person, the one who proclaimed to be the way, the truth, and the life.